Set. Good morning to you, man.
Good morning, Stefan Reese, Energy TV, and all of our viewers.
Nice, man.
All right.
So the topic this morning is hypertension.
Yes, hypertension, also called the silent killer.
Right.
And why it is called the silent killer? Because in the early stages, you usually don't have any noticeable symptoms. So let me share my screen to show you some of the diseases that it causes or contributes to. All right. So let me know when you are seeing the screen.
Yeah. Hypertension,
all right, so hypertension
is
silent killer. So some of the diseases it causes: heart disease, stroke, kidney failure, blindness, and dementia. All right. So what hypertension is when you have elevated blood pressure levels. So let me just show those elevated levels so we could get a good understanding of what the levels are. So let's start from normal, which systolic. That's the pressure that is pushed out from the heart when the blood is leaving the heart and passing through your blood, your arteries, to head to your organs and all the vital areas of the body, throughout the entire body that needs it. And systolic is that pressure that's coming back to the heart. All right, so 120/80 or slightly below is normal. You have the elevated or pre-hypertension, which is systolic 120 to 129 and diastolic 80. You have hypertension stage 1, systolic 130 to 139 and diastolic is 80 to 89. Then you have hypertension stage 2, and this is equal to above 140 systolic and equal to above 90 diastolic. And then you have hypertensive crisis, which is equal to above 180 and diastolic equal to or above 120. So this here is for adults over the age of 18 because we're dealing more so with adults at this point in time. Now, when you start hitting around hypertension stage 1 is when things like medications are recommended or might be prescribed if somebody has gone or visited their doctor and they found that their levels are within this zone. But I must say, before I go a little further, you must understand something. When it comes to testing your blood pressure, you want to make sure that you do that correctly. You don't be medicated, or you should not be prescribed medications or go on medications simply because of one reading. It has to be repeatedly high. So when it comes to testing your blood pressure, if you are testing it at home, you want to make sure that you are sitting still for at least, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes. And when you are testing your pressure, you want to take it about 3 times. Make sure that you are not speaking during the time that you are testing your pressure. 3 consecutive times, and then you record the lowest one. Also, you have to factor in activity levels. You don't want to take your pressure right after an activity because, of course, it would be higher or after any form of exertion. You also have to factor in certain things like white coat effect, which is where people get that anxiety when they go to the doctor or any institution where pressure or any sort of test has to be taken. A lot of people get that anxiety, so that could send up your pressure and you could have an inaccurate reading at that point in time. So these are things you need to factor in. So don't just take one reading, or you go somewhere or a clinic and you do one reading and then you're placed on medications. I've heard a lot of people says that after one reading, I know a guy told me he just walked up a couple flights of stairs and then they took his pressure one time and then they told him that he's suffering from hypertension and medication was prescribed. All right,
really?
So this is some, yep, you would not believe some of the stories that I hear. All right, so this is something you want to also check, not just at clinic settings, because a lot of people have this this white coat effect. all right, and they are unaware that they have that. So you want to check it at home. I myself have that white coat effect. So when I check my pressure at home, it's 120/80. But if I have somebody come to check my pressure, it's going to keep rising, right? Because I know I have that effect, but I'm aware of such. So this is why I test my pressure on my own. What I also want to bring people's attention to is that there are other factors that are involved in causing somebody to have hypertension, to suffer from high blood pressure. And these factors are things that people need to be aware of, so in order that they can take preventative measures. Now, this is what I deal with at my clinic, because I help people take preventative measures and use alternative means in which to rectify these issues, getting them off of medications or having them avoid having to go on medication in the first place. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you another display here. So let me know when you can see the screen.
Yep.
All right. So main causes of hypertension. We have stress. Stress is a big factor, but stress comes in two forms, both psychological and physical. But both can activate the same things because they have an interplay. You can stress over something mentally, and that could raise cortisol levels and activate the sympathetic nervous system. But there are physical stuff like your fight or flight mechanism. You perceive danger, and your sympathetic nervous system activates as well, all right? Then you can have nutritional deficiencies, but I'll get to that when we go down to the mineral and fluid balance. That could also trigger a stress response. And all of this can activate your stress, and that can elevate your hypertension. Then you have on the left-hand side at the top, you have what is called the RAAS, overactivation. Now that stands for the Renin Angiotensin Aldosterone system, and that system regulates your salt and fluid balance in the human body, and it causes your vessels, your blood vessels and stuff to contract, all right? And that can elevate, well, does elevate your blood pressure as well. But there are multiple ways in which this system can be activated as well, all right? Then we have down to the bottom left, we have mineral and fluid balances. So like magnesium deficiencies, magnesium is needed to cause muscles and blood vessels and stuff to relax. It has an interplay with calcium. So if you have a magnesium deficiency, your calcium levels would be too much in the cells, in the blood vessels, in the muscles, and that can cause contraction because you don't have enough magnesium to cause that relaxation. So it has a balance play taking place there. So if there's an imbalance of magnesium, then you could also end up hypertensive. Dehydration, not consuming enough fluids, can lower total volume of fluids in the body. Now, of course, if you have less volume, it means more pressure needs to be applied to circulate the fluids in your body, all right? Now, that less volume can trigger these two up here, right? So, like I say, all of them have an interplay that takes place and can contribute to hypertension. Right? Then you have metabolic and toxic damage. So insulin resistance, which means this comes back down to diet now. So diet, insulin resistance. High insulin levels also would affect the blood vessels and can cause contraction of the blood vessels, which can increase your blood pressure. Of course, obesity meaning you have excess fat. Excess fat can cause hormonal imbalances. These hormonal imbalances would also activate these two. Toxic aging. Now, what it is I mean when I say toxic aging is that according to science, aging and poisoning are very closely related. There are things that people are consuming that's harmful to the body that they are unaware is harmful to the body. And this can cause what many would call age-related stiffening of the arteries or the blood vessels. And that can lead to, of course, contraction or narrowing of the blood vessels, which would also increase the pressure, right? And that can contribute to hypertension. So all of these things have an interplay that takes place. But before people look at this and say, well, oh, let me go and buy up some supplements and so forth in order to prevent these deficiencies and stuff from happening in order to rectify the issue. That is not how it works, all right? There are a lot of things that people are consuming that actually blocks the body from being able to absorb certain nutrients, all right? Because I mentioned, but this, remember some years ago, I used to talk a lot about salt, all right? A lack of salt activates that RAAS activation. It activates that system, the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So your sodium levels being correct has a play or part to play in that. A lack of salt also triggers stress as well. But it's not just about going and consuming salt. Because if you, let's say you're consuming salt, but then you have magnesium deficiency, you're going to run into some more problems as well.
Okay.
But how are people getting the magnesium deficiency? There are things that they are consuming that are blockers of such. So you might think, okay, let me supplement, but supplementing while at the same time consuming a blocker is basically wastage, right? Because you're spending money on a supplement while still consuming the very thing that is blocking the body from absorbing that supplement. All right, so all of this is what I go through in my clinic to re-educate individuals to show that nutritional therapy should always be your first course of action in rectifying issues, other than going straight to medication and supplementation and so forth. Because if you don't understand the root causes, you are going to be medicating and supplementing, and that is going to cause some confusion, serious confusion in the body, and your condition, in this case hypertension, would always be fluctuating. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's just right. And this is why a lot of people issues with hypertension all over the spectrum. All right, what I want to do as we go further in further segment is to look at the interplay between the medications and how the medications affect the physiological symptoms, and even how those medications hinder the healing process when you're trying to fix these issues naturally through nutritional therapy.
Well,
all right?
No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, so that is what I want to focus on going further and going forward, all right, to help people understand why nutritional therapy should always be your first choice. And keep in mind that medication don't fix the issue. All it does is suppress the symptom temporarily. Okay. But if you notice, a lot of people that suffer from hypertension, they still go on to develop these detrimental health issues, which we saw some of the issues that it causes with the heart disease, the stroke, and the dementia, and so forth. All of those things. They still go on to develop that because the root cause still has never been addressed. And that's what we do at Chetwayo's Holistic Health Clinic.
All right. You know, you talk about medication, and I remember my father, what was the tablet, boy? Enalapril. That's one of the more popular tablets that they give you for high blood pressure. But
yes.
But I used to say, and there's this other I guess misconception that salt, too much salt is going to send up your blood pressure. But you have spoken about salt in great detail.
Yeah.
You know, where that is concerned. And these are little things that I guess could be mentioned in the next segment or you know, when next year as you continue the topic. Because a lot of people, we just talk about diabetes. But real people is a high blood pressure, but you just don't know it.
Correct. So they usually go together, you see. They usually go together. Because remember we saw earlier too that insulin resistance is a contributing factor to hypertension as well.
Yeah.
Right? And the drug that you mentioned just now there, that's an ACE inhibitor. Which means, what ACE inhibitor means is it's an angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. So that directly affects the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Because renin angiotensin, the ACE inhibitor, blocks angiotensin. But if you don't deal with what is causing the body to produce the angiotensin, right, blocking it, still not addressing either the deficiency that is taking place that causing the body to overproduce it.
Right.
So then you have a conflict and confusion taking place within the body.
Right.
But these are things most people aren't aware of. You know, many people take medication and they don't even ask a question. They just say, well, this is for your blood pressure.
Yeah.
They're not asking, how is it lowering my blood pressure? What is it doing to the body? What are the side effects of such? So that's what I want to go into in future segments, so people would get to understand the side effects of these medications and a lot of issues people are having. They would see that many of them are actually from the side effects.
Okay.
Right?
I'm sure you're throwing alcohol too.
Oh, alcohol is always
alcohol
a
is
problem.
another blood pressure?
Yes.
Because they say if you drink too much Guinness, but the director here, he like to drink Guinness, you know. He just drink, director of Guinness, he just drink it out when they're alignment. About 6. He like to drink Guinness, he like our Guinness. But they say, but I don't know about the Guinness down here. They say the Guinness when you go like Scotland and Ireland is totally different. But they say when you drink Guinness, Guinness is send up your blood pressure.
Keep in mind,
that's what they say.
all alcohol is a diuretic. So that means you're going to lose fluid volume in the body.
Right.
Fluid volume loss, right, is going to increase your blood pressure. And you're also losing minerals when you lose those fluids as well. And alcohol is fermented sugar. So then that would can contribute to insulin resistance as well. So and then it also diminishes glutathione. So then you have toxic agent taking place also. So it would actually trigger a lot. In fact, alcohol would actually trigger all of the causes that I showed earlier.
Oh gosh. All right, guys.
Right?
You see why I'm drinking water and minding my business? All right.
Can't go wrong there. Can't go wrong with water at all. Right?
Step next week, man. We'll continue the topic.
Yes.
It's a broad topic.
It's much bigger than people think.
I'll see how the schedule is next week. Maybe we could start a little earlier. I'll give you an extra 5 minutes. Maybe we could accommodate some calls. All right?
Okay, no
we'll see if we
problem.
can take some calls next week. All right, cool, man.
Problem. All right, then.
Nice.
Thanks for having me.